Good afternoon. We are in Chicago, Illinois at the NCRA convention, and our special guest today will introduce himself and tell us a little bit about where he's born, raised, and his upbringing.
Thank you, Jerry. My birth name is Jerry Lee Callaway. My nickname, adopted about 12 years ago, is Will. And everybody's always wanted to know why Will. My grandfather's name was Willie Lee, so I got half his name and I wanted the rest. So one time my wife and I were talking and she wanted a nickname, and so she told me what she wanted to be called, and I said, well, you know, I always really wanted to be Will or Willie. She said, well, I'll call you Will but not Willie. So that started it. My family cooperated, and I became Will. And then I came on the board in 2004, and I decided I would go professionally as Will finally, and that's where it started. And it was very confusing for people in the beginning, and I had to do a lot of explaining, but everybody's been very cooperative except for a few, like Fred Middlebrooks. He refuses to call me Will. But anyway, that's the story on Will. I was born in Sweetwater, Texas, which is a small town out in West Texas, about halfway between Dallas and El Paso, on July 23rd, 1947. Mother and father, Smokey and Maxine Callaway. Had two brothers and a sister. And I have two grown sons and four grandsons. And my wife's name is Allie Callaway, and David's my oldest boy, and Todd the youngest, and each one has two boys. We missed the girl trail, but we're having a lot of fun with those boys anyway.
So you went to school, high school, grade school in Texas?
Went and graduated high school in Abilene, Texas.
Abilene.
There happened to be a court reporting school there called the Stenograph Institute of Texas, which was owned by H. Don Rogers, who has trained literally hundreds of reporters who are working today across the country.
So how did you get, you just knew of the school, you drove by it, or someone recommended it, or how did you get into reporting?
Well, my mother's best friend had a son that was about 3 years older than me. His name was Joey Dollar, and he had gone to court reporting school in Plainview and had become a reporter in Alabama. And I was a junior in high school at the time, and Lenora, his mom, said, you know, you should take a look at court reporting. You know, Joey's a court reporter. And I said, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And she said, well, he makes a lot of money out there in Alabama, and he just bought a new guitar and a new car. And I thought, sounds good to me. So June 14th, I was 17 years old and graduated from high school and started court reporting school at Stenograph Institute there in Abilene.
In high school, did you take typing? Did you have any finger dexterity going for you? Or
I had 1 year of piano when I was about 9. I did not even know the keyboard on the typewriter at the time. In fact, I took an old manual typewriter, and right before I started at court reporting school, I did memorize the keyboard, so I learned to type at the same time I learned to write shorthand.
And so you ended up getting to reporting school, and tell us about your first job.
Well, my first job was an officialship in Graham, Texas, which is a small town about 160 miles northwest of Dallas, Fort Worth. And when I was in school, H. Don Rogers knew all the reporters around the area, and a lady needed a substitute reporter. She was having a baby, and I was 19, ripe for the draft, and got a 6-month appointment to this court. And so October 1, 1966, I go to Graham, Texas for my first job, and I was the only court reporter in the town, so I got to take depositions and work in court. And when I was in the court, though, we had a hearing, and it lasted for about 2 days. and I was very immature at the time, business-wise and knowledge of reporting. I didn't have anybody to talk to. And I had a real bad experience with the lawyer. He wanted the transcript quick, and he came to my apartment as I was typing the transcript. And it was the most nerve-wracking thing I had ever encountered, and I decided right then and there I did not want to be a court reporter if that's what it was. So I told my judge what I was going to do. I'm going to volunteer for the draft and go ahead and get it over with and get in the Army. So I got drafted, volunteered, and went in on December the 7th, 1966, Pearl Harbor Day. And went through basic. They sent me to medical training school. They made a medic out of me instead of a court reporter, which was fine with me at the time because I still had the bad experiences in my mind. And I get to Fort Hood, Texas, and had a free afternoon, and I went over to the JAG office and asked them what they did for court reporters. Well, they didn't have a machine reporter, but had a couple of stenomask reporters who had gone trained at the Naval Institute up in Maryland. And they said, but the 1st Armored Division doesn't have a court reporter. So I went over and talked to the Judge Advocate, the Lieutenant Colonel who was head of the JAG there. And long story short, I ended up being the official court reporter for the 1st Armored Division until I got out of the Army.
Did you do no medic work at all?
I did for about a month.
No.
Yeah, I was with an engineering battalion in the medic department.
Wow. So when you got out of the Army, you came back to Texas, and
I was in Texas, so I wasn't far from home. And,
that's right.
I got out 90 days early to go to college, and I went to McMurray College for a semester in Abilene, and then I moved to Dallas and went to UTA for a semester, University of Texas at Arlington. And all this time I was doing a little bit of court reporting work, and when I got to Dallas, did a little bit of work, and then moved to Houston and worked for Dahl and Reed, a court reporting firm there in Houston for a year, and then I moved back to Dallas in 1970 and started freelancing with a longtime firm there, Stanley Harris Rice and Associates. I was with Stanley Harris Rice for about a year and a half, and a friend of mine who actually is a past president of NCRA asked me to come over and help him in federal court because he was going to be president of NSRA at the time, and he was going to be president, and he needed some help substituting in his court and taking some depositions for his clients. So I went with him for about 7 months and got through that, and then started Davis, Brock, and Callaway, a small 3-man freelance firm there in Dallas. And was Davis, Brock, and Callaway until 1986, and we merged with 2 other firms, Federal Court Reporting, which had David Jackson and Mickey Waldy as owners, and Waldy, Durchie and Associates had Walter Waldy and Charles Durchie were the owners. And we formed a mega firm, we called it, United American Reporting Services in 1986, and that's where I am today. So we've been United American for about the last 24 years.